We are entering season 3, Valeria.
How exciting is that?
It's so exciting.
Yeah. Oh wait. We didn't check the sound.
No, he took the sound.
Oh, you did. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, Charlie can sit right here.
Yeah. We have contemporary young artist today with us, Werner Bronkhorst.
With my art, I paint people, and I paint people interacting with the world. And of course, I want people in the world to interact with my artworks as well.
Yeah, we don't have also this question, but you guys became parents at such a young age as well.
Okay.
Holding back and trying to be too protective doesn't help anyone, because you don't actually end up sharing your thoughts, which means no one is learning. And I learn from people who learn from me at the best at the end of the day, because then I'm not looking at the rearview mirror. I'm looking forward and just painting what I want to paint.
There is a reason for why the rear view mirror is smaller than the front shield, you know? So
I love that.
that's a great,
love that.
great way of seeing it.
Yeah.
We are entering season 3, Valeria.
How exciting is that?
It's so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are in an amazing setup, so this season is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it reflects much more what we actually talk about and what we do. And
100%.
what a fun start of the season we have.
We do have big shoes starting the season.
Absolutely. We have contemporary young artist today with us, Werner Bronkhorst, and who works with a very interesting human scale. That is something that, again, reflects in day-to-day life with
Super interesting small miniature
figures, vast, distinctive landscapes,
architectural
scale, so much of a layering and so much to talk about. And welcome, Werner. We're so happy to have you here today with us.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you, Shad. I appreciate being in this big blue seat. This is like a cloud.
Yeah,
this
we
is,
wanted to put you in
This is reflecting you.
you're
This is definitely
in the cloud.
reflecting you.
Yeah. It's your first time in Dubai.
It is.
Welcome.
It's my first proper time. I've had a stopover here, but that's not the same as actually seeing every building on the road and just being amazed by it all.
Yeah. It's
You feel like a tiny human in a vast canvas landscape
You
in
do.
Dubai. You do, right?
You do. In fact, I feel very tiny. I feel like everything around me is just big, beautiful, and couldn't have imagined it to be.
and futuristic.
Exactly.
But before it all started, actually, just to go back a little bit, before you went so public on social media, how did it all start? And how did you actually start working with the style or found your own way to what you are today as an artist?
My mom says that I was born with a brush in my hand, and I don't believe her, but I do in some way believe that what she said was true, because it feels like I was just born to be an artist. And ever since I was young, I really wanted to become an artist and to paint full time, but I never really knew what to paint. So to take you kind of through my journey, I started painting tiny artworks, literally the size of a coin. They were watercolor paintings on paper. And so that taught me how to paint in detail and how to paint every single day and to make a habit out of painting, because you need to make it a habit to turn it into your passion. And when I did that, I also realized that I wanted to go big and I wanted to go colorful. But only when I moved to Australia 5 years ago did I actually start seeing potential in working with big and small things. I started making furniture, of all things, and when you design furniture, you obviously have to think in the 3D space. The furniture I made had this beachy element to it because I used plaster to cover all of my furniture with this kind of textured look. And with all of the leftover materials from making the furniture, I used that to turn canvases into 3-dimensional sculptures. But I didn't want to just stop there. I wanted to reinstall my miniature people that I used to paint so much throughout my high school period, and to involve that into this 3-dimensional textured world. And through painting tiny skiers initially, skiing down a white slope.
I think that's what made you actually world famous. Yeah.
And that's also where I really figured out that this was what I wanted to do, because I realized there could be more than just people skiing. It could be people surfing, people walking, playing football, people in the desert. And that's also why I'm here today. I'm working on my crack collection, which I'm exhibiting here in Dubai. And I'm here and so excited to be talking about it.
Yeah,
we are so excited. We're so excited. And we're going to see your show starting the 15th of February.
Yes.
Sorry, January.
Of January, yes.
You might have to come back now.
But that's only because you're a VIP. For the public, it starts on the 16th. So very keen on that.
Well, we're thankful. We're thankful. I've been following you for many, many, many years on social media. And I wouldn't say that I've seen your type of art previously on exhibition. But you also went another kind of different route because you exploded on social media. So how do you feel that has shaped you as an artist, being big through social media? Because we see a couple of you guys in the same area that has actually become big artists through social media. And do you think that has shaped you in the way you work today? You're working today?
You know, it's a very ironic thing because when I started posting artworks on social media, I just did it to share my process and to actually force myself to document my process and to actually see how I paint things myself. So I used to paint flowers and I would take a time lapse and I would post that on Instagram for people to see. But only 3 years ago did it actually start taking off exponentially. And I went from having 4,000 followers to within a month growing to 100,000 followers. And then the next year it was 1 million. And now it's at 1.7 on Instagram alone.
Why do you think it happens? Does it bring you like closer to the audience, or it shows the transparency and also to collectors? Like, I'm curious, how does the actual person, a buyer, a collector, looks at something that is so open to public as well? Because it used to be much more inclusive, right? This circle. And now it's just exposed to everyone else.
Which I think is a great thing. Because with my art, I paint people and I paint people interacting with the world. And of course, I want people in the world to interact with my artworks as well. And through posting videos about how I create my artworks, not in a how-to guide, but in a way where it just makes it approachable and for people to understand what exactly I am painting. Because it's a very foreign concept. When you try and explain what I do, people don't understand until they see. And that's the beauty with art. You have to see it. It is visual and it's a visual language which you have to see unfold for you to understand and for you to actually take part in it. So through making videos and reels and TikToks and posts where I share my process from start to finish, I think people have been able to see what it is and therefore they can follow along for the journey.
I would say that sometimes it goes towards a more humoristic approach of your painting. Is that something you do by purpose, or like what's the guideline that you do? Because I know you're from South Africa. I love your surf paintings.
Yeah, but also like, what is the psychological portrait of this little people? Is there any actually psychological?
What does it mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good
story,
questions. I'll start with the humor actually, because I guess that's a really big part of what I create. I know that art can be so alienating for many people when it's such a museum thing and you have to be quiet in a museum and you can't touch artworks and you can't really take part in what artists create because it's such a white wall space and people are alienated by it. But for me as an artist to involve humor and color and nostalgia in my work, it makes it more approachable for people. And I think that's why it has found so much success in a way, but also just so much enjoyment from everyday people, whether it is someone who has no knowledge about art or someone who knows a lot about art. You can enjoy it because it's so approachable. And through nostalgia, of course, I involve people's memories, whether it is memory of them skiing with their family or them going surfing. So many things are involved in my art. And so to answer your question, which was, do you mind repeating your question?
Like, is there any like psychological background, or is it just like you said, it's just a fun memory, or you're layering these people, showing their solitude in this world on this big landscape that you can be still so lonely, or it's something that, you know, end user, like people who come and see your work, they just imagining.
Exactly. So for those who don't know my work, and for those who now will wonder what exactly you're trying to say, is that, as you know, my work consists of this plethora of paint that I pour onto canvases, and it's mostly just one, maybe two colors. I spread that paint around on these big canvases, sometimes small canvases too, and I do that with a massive brush, which just creates this entire big, thick, textured strokes. And once that's dry, I then paint my tiny figures, and they of course interact with this landscape that is an ocean or a desert, etc. And these are painted with so much detail, and they're painted very small,
very
like
detailed.
the size of your pinky, and even smaller. And when people interact with them, it's like they see themselves. There's that psychological interest that you have where you feel like you see yourself walking on this canvas. And then you also realize, oh wait, we are, kind of touching back on what you said earlier, we are these tiny people
We are, yeah.
in this huge, big, abstract, colorful world. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy when people actually look at these artworks and they see themselves and they kind of interact with it as if it's them.
Yeah. I also think that, like what you said, that a lot of people can relate. You still experiment, you know? And I wanted just to touch a little bit the topic of your car collection. I showed it to my son, your Instagram page, who is 7 years old. And he was absolutely obsessed about cars. And he was like, wow, this guy is cool, huh? And it's very interesting. I showed him the works that are with miniatures, but also something that really stroke, you know, the new generation. If you look at him, like, how do you see that? He's like, oh, this guy is really cool, you know? It was nice to see how that you can just jump still in the middle from one style to another. So tell us a little bit about this collection with cars.
Yes, so I think the collection that you're referencing is my 911.
911.
What's Your Emergency collection. These were 9 drawings that I made of sports cars. So there's Porsches featuring it, Ferraris, Bugattis, etc. But it's charcoal drawings, actually,
It is
which fascinates
yeah.
people because I'm known for my paintings, which
Yeah.
of course I use a lot of thick paint for. But I also do like drawing. I like drawing with charcoal. But instead of drawing on paper, which is what a normal artist would do, I just decide to draw it on canvas. And these cars are drawn with like this blurry motion, and then on top of it, I paint words that say, need racks for Ferrari or need paper for Porsche. And I think when people read something on an artwork, you don't normally see words on an artwork, and you also don't normally see cars on an artwork, let alone something that looks more like a photograph. But I once again, I find it so interesting when anyone, whether you're 7 or 70, can interact with artworks that kind of speak to you in a way, literally sometimes with my artworks, but also emotionally and like metaphorically. It can motivate you, and in my case, or at least with that collection, the idea was to just draw cars that I've loved as a kid growing up, and to now want the money to buy that car, but then at the same time you realize,
to a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, to just enjoy the process of drawing and to realize that beauty can be achieved or at least appreciated, whether it's on an artwork or a physical car.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting how you're bringing this up. Your son is fantastic, and he loves
Cars, specifically
cars,
the
specifically
911
car, yeah.
Porsche, yeah.
But it's also interesting to see how the new generation that also starts to come on, because he's a little bit too young to be on social media, but that starts to come to social media, and the generation Z and millennials and whatever they're called now,
Alpha, yeah, Generation Alpha.
that this is their type of art, because
Yeah,
we
it's-
grew up in a completely different era, you know, where when you were you were describing it of how that type of museum art is
But yeah,
seen by us.
also speaking of accessible art, like you said, just because you are showing these videos and the new generation is so used to TikTok videos and Instagram
Yeah.
videos, when they see something like this, an artist who actually shows the process plus drawing something that
Yeah.
they can relate to, they're like, oh my God, he speaks the same language. That's...
But do you think that's the new type of artists that, have a platform of social media and that get visible on social media is the new type of artist that will be more successful or that will be more known?
Look, I
Like,
mean,
are you the
video
new Andy
killed the
Warhol?
radio star, right? I think even for musicians at the time when they just made songs and you can kind of just perform it in front of a live audience, to then having video through television to play a song again and again and to actually show what the song is about through being in a certain landscape or interacting with the audience in a way, that allowed musicians to take their art to the next level. And I think for me as a visual artist, people normally only see the result of what I create. But for artists, the process is just as important as the result. But it's the process that we can never share, because I don't want people in my studio. I don't want people to come in and see what I'm doing and to ask questions while I'm painting. I just want to be alone and unbothered by the world. But I want people to see what I do, and I want people to understand
And
what
you
it
have a
is that I
platform
do.
to do that.
And exactly, through Instagram and TikTok and whatever it is, regardless, it's a visual platform where I can showcase, whether it's photography or videography, how I do what I do. And that to me is so powerful.
And you know, like you've become so popular in, as you said, in a very short period of time. Yeah. How do you protect your work from copyright? It's a big question, and I'm sure it's a big question for a lot of artists, and not only artists, also designers. It happens all the time in our profession as well, and in all parts of the world. How do you protect your skill, your art, and you're showing it publicly to everyone?
I love that question, because also you are exactly what you said. You're so public with it, and you sort of also show the process
technique,
of it. Yeah, the technique.
Actual,
So it's a very important question to ask. So it's out there. So, you know, and everyone knows who you are. So, you know, you could easily see that this is, and you're very distinct with the way you're painting, you know? So, but how do you, that's a
Look,
good
I
question.
think you as an artist can be very protective, and artists do tend to be like that. But when you're on social media, you kind of just have to deal with being vulnerable. And I think to me, that's very important. I like sharing my work. And if people are inspired by it and they want to create work that looks similar to mine, go ahead. That's what every artist does when they start out on their journey. They first see what other people create, they try it themselves, they experiment, they see what they like and what they don't like. And then they just continue. But at the same time, I think holding back and trying to be too protective doesn't help anyone, because you don't actually end up sharing your thoughts, which means no one is learning. And I learn from people who learn from me. Sometimes I see artworks out in the world that perhaps was inspired by what I do, but then I'm in turn inspired by what they do, whether it is photographers or musicians or videographers or artists alike. And for me, it's really important not to be too caught up in what other people do and what other people try and do. I think for me, it's really important to just focus on what I'm painting. And I think that's what works at the best at the end of the day, because then I'm not looking at the rearview mirror. I'm looking forward and just painting what I want to paint.
There is a reason for why the rear view mirror is smaller than the front shield, you know? So
I love that.
that's a great,
I love that.
Great way of seeing it. Why painting? Why artistry?
It's a good question.
Why didn't you stick to furniture?
No, we're happy that he didn't stick to furniture.
Well, look, I mean, I am very keen to get back into furniture. But why anything, right? I think you have this innate talent when you're a kid for something. You're either a sportsman, or you're an academic, or you're excelling in culture. And when I was in school, that's of course where all those three facets of life kind of merge into one. Especially in high school, I was in a school that really provided every opportunity for every boy to be involved in culture and in sport and in academics. But quickly you realize where in the world you belong. And I feel like art is just the world in which I belong. Both my uncles are architects, and throughout growing up in my own life, I've seen how architecture has changed their life. You know, like you can point out an architect from a mile away because they just are a certain way. You just become a certain person. And for me as an artist, I feel like I just am an artist, whether it is how I do things or what I end up creating. But for me, art as a medium and art as a profession just allows me to be as creative as I can. because there's really no rules. I feel like even
Yeah.
in design, yes, there are restrictions on what you can do and the ergonomics of
Yeah.
how a couch and a table is made. But really, there are no rules. And I think that to me as an artist is the best thing, because I don't like sticking to rules. Obviously, I abide by the laws and whatnot, but I really like just doing what I'm best at, which is being creative.
That's that sort of leads to my next question. Like you said, oh, I don't want to obey the rules. Is that the reason why you actually not represented by any specific galleries and you chose to work solo, if we can put it this way?
Yeah. So when I was 21, I worked in a gallery. And I did that because I learned that Jeff Koons also first worked at a gallery to really see how the gallery world and the art world works. And of course, I guess back in his day when he was 21, it would make sense to do that and to then go into the art world and to then sell your works through galleries. And as much as I appreciate galleries and would love to work with the right gallery, I just haven't found that gallery for myself, especially because things just changed so quickly. I went from being an artist who sells artworks for a couple of $100 to now selling it for $100,000, etc. And so finding the right gallery who can jump to that scale with you is really hard. And so being independent just allowed me to kind of grow wherever I want and to not be restricted by someone or something. Because obviously you as an artist also have a relationship and a responsibility to a gallery. And at the same time, that gallery has a relationship and a responsibility to you. But for me, being independent is just the best.
Yeah. That's very
I think you're going to open up so many doors when this episode comes out. There's going to be hundreds of galleries in Dubai and in the Middle East that's going to say that we are the right one. But I kind of agree with you, and that shows how comfortable you guys are in your team, and you're self-aware, saying that, you know what, we could easily do this ourselves. Now when you're here in Dubai, a different atmosphere, different region, different audience.
Different landscape.
Yeah, different landscape. Like I'm sure many of the people that's gonna come for the viewing will have seen your art through social media. How do you think that this region takes your art?
That's a really great question, in the sense that I'm curious to ask that question to the audience who will end up actually arriving at this exhibition, because this will be my first show in the Middle East. This will be my first time interacting with people who perhaps have a very different way of life than I am used to. I mean, I grew up in South Africa, right? So for me to go from South Africa and having a certain outlook on life and making a certain art for a certain audience, to then working in Sydney, but for a global audience, that has allowed me to really just paint whatever I want for whoever will end up liking it. But here in Dubai, and especially for people who really appreciate craftsmanship and who appreciate time and scale and color and abstract art, especially for the Islam community, is very big. So for me to create artworks that are abstract, but at the same time very real, and involve detail and craftsmanship and thought and patience, I think I'd be really curious to see how people interact with it. So perhaps that's a better question for me to
ask in the upcoming days.
We'll turn the tables. We'll turn the tables, and you
but
can
also,
ask us that question.
I was thinking about the crack collection show that you're showcasing, and I was thinking, how did you do it without actually being in the Middle East? You know, that's very.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that was like my first thought, and I think it will be a big success, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you. So obviously, crack can mean so many things. It's a sound. It's an action.
Yeah.
It is something that is visual, but also something that happens quickly. Crack to me reminds me of wood, because wood can crack.
Yeah.
It reminds me of clay surfaces, because clay, when it's hardened, can crack. It reminds me of rocks. It reminds me of skin that can crack when it's dry. And so all of these things involve heat. And that is why this collection has so many warm tones involved. Every artwork is a red or a yellow or an orange or a deep brown. And all of these warm colors represent different landscapes which represent the word crack. The crack of a whip, and therefore rodeo, or horses in general. The crack of a skull, and therefore a boxing match. There are so many different things that are involved in that word, which of course is also something that I have to be really conscious about when I create a collection, because I want every artwork to work with one another seamlessly and to fit one another. But at the same time, I want them to be so unique and individual at the same time. So for me to be creating a collection named Crack and to showcase all of the different ways in which I interpret that word, it's important. And Dubai is the perfect location for it.
Yeah, perfect place for it. So, you know, art today, like any other industry, in fact, it moves so fast. And also, how do you make sure that your art stays, or craftsmanship stays authentic and doesn't become too commercial with everything, with all this exposure, and in fact with everything we see and scroll through, and you know, all the collaborations that you might have to do in the future, or all the exposure? How do you stay authentic and like true to yourself, humble, and doing what you actually meant to be doing?
That's something that I have to remind myself every single day, and that my team has to remind myself, or has to remind me about as well, is to really stay limited in what I do and how many things I take on and how many projects I say yes to. And also knowing when ideas that I have that I want to do right now should only take time, or should take time, and should take years before I approach these artworks and these ideas that I have. Good things do take time. Good design does take time. And it takes time because you have to make sure that it's not excessive and that it's not full of things and just is everywhere all at once. You have to really take your time and have a slow, methodical approach to every painting, but also for me now to every collection. I have to be really considered in where I want to exhibit, how I want to exhibit. And at the end of the day, we all have only 24 hours in a day.
Right.
And I'm a father of two, and we have two beautiful, wonderful kids. They take a lot of time and energy, and you want to put your all into mentoring these two little humans. At the same time, I'm also trying to grow as a person myself. I mean, I'm 24 now, so I'm really trying to learn as much as I could about life in general and exploring this world myself. But then at the same time, as an artist, I also have to really just take my time and take it easy, and I think that's the beauty about having agency about my own things and really being independent and choosing when I want to do what I want to do. There's no pressure.
So how many artworks do you produce a year? I'm very curious from the perspective as a parent, like you said, and somebody who is like, you know, in creative industry. How long does it take you to produce a work, and how many, you know, artworks do you produce a year?
Look, I wish I was painting all the time.
Yeah.
But of course, whenever
Just
you
impossible.
have an industry that's taking off, you have to take on multiple hats. I'm a
Right.
business person, an entrepreneur, a team leader, a follower myself, and also someone who's just trying to paint every single day as much as I can. This collection, this Crack collection, took me 11 months to make. So that's been basically the whole of last year. And that collection in itself is only 33 artworks. So I can't create a lot, actually. And for that reason, I also really have to be considerate about how each artwork looks and feels.
What does it mean for you to be coming to Dubai and having your first exhibition in the Middle East? What does that mean for you?
It's honestly a big honor, not only because, as we just have talked about in the past few years, it seems like Dubai and the UAE in general has just grown exponentially in their appreciation for art and contemporary art especially. For me as a young artist who is really just entering the traditional art world, for me to be exhibiting in a place where people truly appreciate art, and especially fine art and fine contemporary art, that's a big honor firstly. But then also, the reason I chose Dubai was really to make the whole collection, which is about the desert and is about heat and is about everything that Dubai represents in terms of scale and beauty, that is the perfect place to be exhibiting in. So it's a double whammy. It's a place where people
definitely.
appreciate what I'm creating, and at the same time, they have a context for what I'm creating because they see it all around them.
So it wasn't Habibi come to Dubai.
Yeah,
It was an easy choice.
It was an
Yeah.
easy choice.
How do you protect your peace? You know, you're a public person now, social person. You must be traveling a lot. You have a wife, and as you mentioned, 2 kids. How do you differentiate between this private life and something that you actually show on social media?
It's a fine balance because, of course, I really do like sharing everything around who I am and what I do because I want collectors to know who I am and why I create the artworks.
Yeah, it's a very transparent relationship for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that also really ties into the authorship and the authenticity of each artwork where people really can see that, yes, he is the person who makes this artwork, and therefore I know that when I'm purchasing this artwork, it is truly his. It's not made by his assistants or anyone else. It is truly Werner creating it from start to finish. That's the first important thing. The second thing is sometimes you can share too much because, of course, when you're in the limelight, you kind of want to talk about things, but at the same time, it's really important to keep a private life, especially when you have kids, because anything that I do can affect my family's image or reputation, etc. So there is definitely that fine balance. But I think growing up with social media, you kind of just get used to it and you kind of really find your groove. At least I have. And I have my personal Instagram account
I feel
where
like
I
it's
share
a very Gen
personal
Z,
things.
Yeah.
But then I also
approach.
have the business account, or at least my art account, which is truly more about the actual artworks than anything else. Everything else in terms of where we are or story posts, that's really just a side dish that really just helps to color in the rest of the artworks.
Where do you see your art, let's say, in 5 years from now? And will we see a collection with your sons?
Also, where are we heading? Like in terms of like, are we going all digital, or you think that the craftsmanship is here to stay?
Going all digital, I don't think would be for me.
You don't believe in NFTs?
I haven't even delved into that world, but really for me, I can't even answer emails. That's how non-digital I am. So for me to be creating physical works of art is truly just what I will continue to do. I just know it. It's in me to paint and to continue painting for years and years and years on end. At the same time, I do realize that, you know, if I take an average lifespan of 85, that means I'm still 61 years away from my death. And in those 61 years, I will have to create artworks. And, you know, who knows where I'm headed? Who knows what I will end up creating? Because I can easily jump from painting to drawing to painting with drawing materials or drawing with painting materials. It's such a weird thing that in the art world, you can just keep on evolving. So for me, that evolution is really important to keep on growing, keep on evolving my work and my practice. But at the same time, I think in 5 years, to answer your question, I'd love to be in a museum by that time. I think that's very soon, and perhaps that's a little bit too ambitious
I think
of me.
it's doable. It's doable. Definitely doable. Yeah.
But I would love for people to really be able to access my art publicly 24/7, not just when I exhibit in a city. Because I really like that my art is free to access, whether it's online or in person. Every exhibition I have is free. And for that reason, I want people to continue to be able to interact with my art. And that's what museums allow you to do. They really allow
Very democratic,
anyone from anywhere in the world to arrive in this new location and to interact with artworks, whether it is priceless pieces or pieces that just entered the art world. And I want to be in that stage, but I know that that's going to take time, and I love that it's going to take time because I have a lot of time ahead of me.
Exciting. How would you describe your work in 3 words?
Colorful, big and small.
Big and small. That's fun.
Do you think you're going to go back to how it started with just, you know, the coin size art pieces, or will you continue with these vast canvases in the future as well? Will we see in other
Media.
You'll definitely continue to see more different media, and of course, I'll continue to make new things that look different to any of the work I've created before. At the same time, I do
A
think
lot
that
for us to bid on.
yeah. But I think that the works that I've created in the past will stay there, and I'll just keep looking forward and keep on creating new things that explore this world of texture and miniature people. Because at the end of the day, there's 8 billion stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I've only told maybe 100, maybe 1,000. So I have a long way to go.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
by the way.
it's very-
That's a very nice metaphorical saying.
Um,
Look, we would also be so impressed and so interested in seeing how your furnitures would look. So please also dive into that. I know we have
Your next trip
Anthony
to
from
buy.
from Pink Rhino that would love to buy your pieces, including myself.
Yeah, all of us.
We never asked you if you do art by request. Would you do that? Would you be doing that in the future, or are you doing that?
That's only really...
Do you
I
produce
only-
commissioned art?
So my blanket answer is no, because I really just like painting what I think is best for me to paint. And whenever there's someone else's opinion involved in an artwork or in a design, then it can kind of take away the artist's agency. And I think many of my collectors appreciate that what I create is what I create, not what they have thought of creating. But of course, if there's a massive project that is undeniably good, then of course I would take it on.
Yeah.
And then you have to have this dynamic
Yeah.
between client and the person creating.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this episode is coming to the end.
Oh wow.
And it just flew by, to be honest. And in the end of each episode, we're asking a guest from our previous guest. And the question of our previous guest was...
I think it fits very well, because he picked point a lot about time.
Yeah, the question was, when will designers and artists be given more time to experiment and learn more from mistakes?
That is a good question, yes. Who asked that?
Who is it?
Anyway,
Yeah,
regardless, that is a good question. And for artists...
Tristan Duplantis.
Tristan,
he's
yes, he's
South
also South
African.
African. Tristan de
Tristan
Plessis.
Duplantis, yeah.
Go
De
Tristan.
Plessis, yeah.
Duplessis.
He's a South African designer.
I love that. Okay. Duplessis is a very South African French surname. I see that. So I think artists really require of themselves to make the time to experiment and to fail. I think every professional wants to just know that whenever they create something, it's going to work out and it's going to be perfect. But the world just doesn't work that way. And inevitably, you do face some sort of failure in what you create, especially when you're pushing the boundaries. Every athlete knows that.
Yeah.
Every musician knows that.
That's the only way to grow.
Everyone knows that when you try something new, you're bound to fail. But in failure, there is a lot of learning to be done. And to me, it's really important to experiment so that I can fail, as much as I hate failing. But then I also really appreciate it because I'm learning something new. For instance, I made an artwork recently that was my biggest work yet. It had 7 panels, and in that artwork, I had to try and make it one cohesive piece. But as you might know, I have to move around my canvases. And this canvas is so big that I had to divide them up, paint them, and there was a lot of failure involved. But at the end of the day, when you try something new, then you will learn and you will succeed. So I think artists just have to make the time to play and to force themselves to try something new.
So what would be your question for our next guest?
Why do you create what you create? And do you think about the why every day that you create? Whether it is designing or painting or any creative act?
That's a great question.
I love that.
Yeah.
And
May I
think-
know what your answer is to that? Why do you design?
I thought about it. I think I'm much older than you, both of us, in fact. So I thought about it many times if that's what I'm meant to do, to be honest, just generally design. And with time, I came to think that, first of all, I'm really good at it. I'm good at my job.
Slay, I love that.
I feel like I don't know anything
No,
else. I don't
it's
know
true.
how to do anything else. I'm good at my job. I'm very organized. So I manage projects, what I told you we're doing now. And also I have good taste. I select people to...
I love this. This is confidence at its best. I
no,
love
I mean,
that.
it's not going to be on camera, thank God.
Yeah, it will
because
be on
people
camera.
think I'm just,
Of course
I have
you're
a
not gonna
good
cut this
taste and
out.
I have a good management skills. I don't know what else I could offer to somebody rather than overseeing something for them. It's exactly where I am meant to be. And it's actually first time probably that I'm in my career that I can say, oh, I'm in the right place at the
Yeah.
right time. I know who to select. I know what to propose to the client to get the best. Yeah. So that's
Beautiful.
maybe it's less now creative process rather than like what guys doing here. They're actually creating like you from the scratch spaces. For me, it's more of a research. Who do I bring on board to make it wow? That's what. Yeah. What about you?
I'm also good at what I'm doing. But I think my background helps me and distinguishes me from what we have in the Middle East. I have a Middle Eastern background, but I'm born and raised in Sweden, which is two completely different styles. And being able to merge and understand how to merge them together is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But then I'm doing so many other things as well.
You're
and I'm
doing
a
a bit of fashion. You're also like a
entrepreneur, yeah. So
yeah.
I'm so thankful that you took your time. You flew in this morning.
We really appreciate that.
You enlightened
honestly.
our season 3, and we're so thankful.
And congratulations. It's a big step, and I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that
Thank
you
you.
involved me in that.
And we
Thanks
hope
so
that a
much.
lot of young artists also
Yes,
take it
to
as an
any young
inspiration.
artist,
Yeah.
Just create. Just go out and create.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And to every artist who isn't necessarily at the start of their career, I think every artist should just go out and create, because that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
That's what you're meant to do, and that's what the world needs.
Exciting. Thank you so much, Werner.
Thank you
for
for your
coming today. Thanks.